Welcome back to our channel. Today we're going to have a look at a game 8 from the World Chess Championship between Liren and Gukesh Dommaraju. Here, Ding was playing white, so he started off with c4 and e5 played by Gukesh. So this is obviously the reverse Sicilian, but in opposite colors. So knight c3, I'm just going to concentrate on the main moves here. After knight b5, bishop e7, and then we have knight f3. These are perfectly normal moves in the English opening. We have d6, and here g3 to obviously fianchet over the bishop. Move was played for c6. After here knight took the bishop, and after knight takes the knight here, white's fianchet to the bishop. And here is the famous f6. It's a novelty by Gukesh. So f6 was played, and as you can see, this is the London system pawn structure for black actually, and black's idea is to bring the bishop to e6 as shown in the arrow and attack the pawn on c4. Here white castle after knight e6, bishop e6 was played, b3, and then we have this d5 move, and as all of a sudden, as we can see, black has a tremendous center compared to white. Usually in the English opening, obviously depending on the variation, the pawn should be either on d6 or e6 upon the taste of the player. But here Ding obviously didn't want to push the pawns forward at all, and that gave black the center. And now bishop a3 was played, and after black castled here, now the knight is actually pinned. So rook c1, first a5 was played, and after knight e1, putting pressure on the center, we have rook e8 getting away from the pin. Here white obviously wanted to open up the center because they pretty much, white does not have the center. They need to open up the center to get some counterplay. So f4 was played, and e takes f4, rook takes f4, and then here d takes c4. Here white took the pawn with the b pawn, and then we have knight g6 attacking the rook. And a rather unusual move here is rook e4. Usually in English setups, you really do not have the rook in the center of the board in the middle game, but here Ding wanted to play this kind of setup, which is very interesting. So knight a6 was played with the intention of bringing the knight to the b4 square, knight c2 preventing that, and then queen c7 was played. Here knight d4 was played attacking the bishop. Bishop retreats, and whole idea is to play c5 and bring the knight to b4. To avoid that, first d3 was played, and after knight to e5 we had a try to trade off the knights. But here this is a very unusual move by Gukesh. He brings the knight back to d7. Now this is very unusual, and we will understand why it was. It was a master maneuver of the knight by Gukesh here. So first rook takes e8, and after the rook takes a rook, we have rook b1 protecting the square on b4. After that, b5 was played, and as you can see, black has a queen side pawn advantage, and they're going to make a pass pawn here. First pawn takes pawn. Before doing anything here, first black gives the queen check, and after the king moves here, then we have two strong pawns in the queen side, which is going to march downwards. Also remember, the bishop is attacking the pawn on c2. Now here bishop b2 was played. Gukesh took the pawn on a2 with the bishop, and now black is a pawn up, and Gukesh started to have a sizable advantage here. However, we'll see how if Gukesh may be able to hold on to that. Now bishop d4 was played, a little bit of counterplay by Ding. After knight ace c5 was the move that was played. I just want to point out one thing. For example, here, if for example queen b8 was played, then white could have got the pawn back by playing rook a1. After bishop d5, we obviously taking the pawn here, and the position is pretty much equal. And in this position again, the correct move here is the other knight coming to d5. And the idea is once rook attacks the bishop, bishop moves, and all of a sudden you can see these two passed pawns are very strong, and it's very hard for white to get some counterplay, and black has a sizable advantage here. But unfortunately in this position that wasn't played. It was the knight on a5 which came to c5, and now there were some differences, because obviously the bishop on g2 can move to h3 and attack the knight on d7. So rook c1 was played, here bishop b3, and here the queen moved away from the attack. Bishop e6 and queen f2 put some pressure on the knight on c5. Rook c8 was played, defending this knight, and as you can see, three pieces are defending the knight and three pieces are attacking this knight. And by the way, the knight is pinned, pinned to the queen and also to the rook as well, so knight cannot simply move away. Bishop e3, the idea is clear. They simply want to play d4. So to protect against that, rook c7 was played, and now Ding played this amazing move, d4, attacking the bishop. When the bishop move away, then we have um, knight c6. This obviously does few things. Obviously it cuts off this rook from the knight's protection. So the series of captures were rook takes c6, bishop takes c6, and after the queen takes the bishop, then we obviously here the bishop takes the knight, and now white is a exchange up. They have a rook for a knight. However, black has two passed pawns, and it's a pawn up, two passed pawns. This is very good advantage for black. Now h6 was played, giving some space for black's king, and then we have king e1. b4 was played, and as you can see, the pawns are now marching forward. The white has to make some decisive moves to prevent these pawns coming forward. So queen d4 was played, the knight to e5, king d2, and then here queen g2, attacking this pawn on h2. There were these moves that were repeated, and it felt like they're gonna now agree to a draw. And in queen d4 here, it was Gukesh who made the choice to play queen a2, because understand, even though Gukesh is actually an exchange down, and in these circumstances he could have agreed to a draw by 3-4 repetition, but he wanted to keep on going. So after queen a2, rook c2 was played, and then queen has to retreat back to e6. Queen d8 check, first king goes to h7, and then here queen took the other pawn. So now it's only one passed pawn that is available for black, and b3 was played, attacking the rook. Rook moved away, and then we have queen d5. Here queen b4 was played, and again black comes and attacks the h2 pawn by playing queen to g2, and white has no choice now but to give a check, and which means they obviously are giving a check and attacking the black queen. So black has to take it, and then white took it with the d pawn. Now b2 was played. It looks like white is winning because they have an exchange up, but because of this pawn which is too far advanced, black is able to counter attack. So rook b1 was played, and now we obviously have bishop a2, and the forcing move is rook takes b2. This gives the chance to knight to come to c4, attack both the king and fork the king and the rook. And then we have, when the king moves, obviously in after knight takes b2, a draw was agreed by both players. I hope you enjoyed this video. For more videos like this, please like and subscribe, and it's bye for now.